Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the E-Tims podcast, the more regular E-Tims podcast a lot of you will notice. Hector has recently caught the podcast bug. Now that he's getting some positive feedback in the comments, which we really appreciate. So that ties it up nicely for me to introduce tonight's guests. We do not have Ralph Malf yet again. He's still away fighting a good fight for the Amazon driver somewhere down south. But we do have Hector Bandido. Good evening, Hector.
Evening, guys.
Thank you for joining. And the man across the water, I believe he's on a mission just across on the Emerald Isle tonight, Monty C. Burns. Good evening, Monty.
Evening, Desi. Evening, lads.
We're not sure. Monty's on his travels all of a sudden, so we don't know if he's heading to the fridge to get a beer or a bottle of wine, because Hector's been winding him up with his Lars wine glass a second ago. So here we are.
Wine cellar for a bottle of wine.
Cellar, yes. Yes.
A 1952
you sell wine, do you? I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Amongst other things. So welcome everyone. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. Wasn't that long ago Hector and I got together to discuss the 3-3 draw with Rangers, and then we were looking forward to the Scottish Cup semi-final, which was of course last weekend. So Hector, there's a lot to go over, but again we don't need to. We can see what we want to dive into. But first and foremost, the usual. I always like to get my pre-match bet on. The teams come out. We always like to check Celtic's release on Twitter, and it's announced that Callum McGregor's starting. Were you surprised at that at all?
No, not really. Because he obviously was nowhere near his fitness levels he wanted to be at Ibrox. We could all see that. And they come on the last league game prior to the weekend there, the last 30, and he looked pretty much like his old self again. I do appreciate that was the last half hour. So no, it was probably the ideal time to give him a start. So no, I was quite happy to see him starting. And Rodgers was clear about it. He says, look, we're hoping to get 60 minutes from him. And pretty much that's what he did. So I think when you're out with injuries like that, at that level these guys play at, it does take quite a few games to get your fitness levels, your match fitness levels up to where they should be. And he's such an important player for us. So I think getting the 60 minutes for him will be a godsend. And I think we'll now see him get stronger and stronger. So, yeah, I was happy with that. But I was going to say something else. I was about to fridge to get my beer. We were 1-0 down. I couldn't believe it.
I've literally got here my notes. Cal Mac started - slow start / CCV and scales. So that's what I was kind of coming to that. So did we just kind of get caught unawares? Did we not actually expect Aberdeen to attack us? Monty, sorry, Hector.
I was going to say it was a kind of strange. Obviously, losing a goal so early. Nobody plans to lose a goal, but to lose it so early. I try to look at goals against us, more so not during the game. Obviously, when all emotions are high, but after the game. And if that had been one of our mids putting a pass like that through to Kyogo, we'd have been saying, "Oh, what a pass! What a run by Kyogo." But we obviously see it from our side. I thought Scales and more so Carter Vickers, the first goal, were at fault. They were too square, and I felt they had kind of issues most of the game. The two of them, mainly Scales, but the two of them were too tight too often to each other. And I think we'll come to this, but I'm just thinking ahead towards the second half and 80 minutes. We're so much in control, and the game seemed to change that last 10 minutes when they just had a long punt, and the two of them attacked the same ball. Mind. And Aberdeen get through. Hart came out really well and kind of stopped the guy, but then Aberdeen get a lift. I'm just saying that was an example of that from the first 2 minutes. We then controlled the game by and large to about 80 minutes, right? But I just felt that they weren't at their best last week. Scales more so than Carter Vickers, but Carter Vickers wasn't great last weekend either, has to be said.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. You can't see this because we don't release the video, but we're watching Monty here, and it's basically like an episode of Taskmaster. When they put the GoPro camera on the contestant and they have to go and do a task. He's literally been all around the house, and we keep getting flashes of a scene. There he is. He's finally poured his glass of red. He's got a lovely glass of red and he's about to get comfortable. Let us know when you're ready to speak again now, Monty. I wouldn't want to interrupt you.
Did you say, Desi?
Your white escapades.
Desi, it's not a normal human's glass of red. It's a greedy bastard's glass of red he's got.
Yes. So, Monty, did you manage to see the game in your travels?
I did, yeah. I did. I would disagree with a couple of things that Hector just said, but not strongly. I thought their goal, that goal in the first minute, was an absolutely outstanding piece of midfield play. The ball that he picked, and it was we always talk about split-second timing and the differences with professional footballers. The Aberdeen player seen that pass way before anybody else even perceived it on the pitch. It was perfect. And Miovski, I'm kind of hoping that, when Rogers talked about him being a very talented player, he's kind of buttering him up. I think his movement is probably every bit as good as Kyogo's. He's just a wee bit more physical than Kyogo, and he's proven in Scotland. I would really like to see him play for Celtic. He's our type of forward. I thought that was a superb goal. I don't really think you could pin it on Carter Vickers or Scales. You're right, they were square, but it's within 67 seconds or something of the first half. They're only really getting started, but I just thought the pass was perfect. And I think we give McGregor maybe a little bit of a bye-ball for the loose pass at Ibrox. I think with Scales, similarly, Scales has been out for 1-2 games. That wee bit of just rustiness, maybe, that you would miss, just that wee bit of sharpness of goals, I think, has probably played on his mind. And I was also thinking too, it's Scales' first semi-final, isn't it, as a starting first choice centre back? So there's probably a wee bit of nerves in there too. But we made hard work of it, Desi. But that's why we love Celtic.
I agree with most of what you said there. Just obviously losing early goal, it's not who you are. Losing a goal so early, it's not easy. It's like a cup semi-final. Your favourites to win it. Everybody thinks you're probably going to win with 2 or 3 goals. I think we were probably the same. And then you lose a goal, give them a lift. It has an impact on how you react to that. So, I think after that, we've got to equalise a bit. I thought the second half, we totally controlled the game up until that last 10 minutes when we put ourselves under a bit of pressure. In fact, the game should have been out of sight in the second half. We made so many opportunities that a final ball wasn't good enough to kill them off.
And that's a theme. I think I said it earlier when we were and I'm still, I know we talk about the bigger picture, but I'm still in that wee bit of resignation that we're going to be fucking cheated out of this league. But our ability to kill games off has been pretty lacking this year. Our ability to really just close it down. And, it's cost us in quite a few sort of league matches. And it almost cost us, other than the lottery or the penalties, it almost cost us a place in the Scottish Cup final. So it would be a concern, but you only need to get that right once. You only need to get that mentality shift right once, and then it stays. I just think we lack it a wee bit at the minute, Hector. We just don't have that ruthlessness that maybe was there, 14, 15, 16 months ago.
Right. So taking it back a little bit, right, to that first goal. We're not going to go through every instant bit by bit, but this is a general aspect. Like, after that first goal, like, Hector and I, for anyone listening, Hector and I shared the E-Tim's net Twitter account, and I pinged on the Twitter, right, lads, they've only got one threat, so all we've got to do is cover that. And it was Carter Vickers and Scales saying, right, boss, no problem. And the fact is, Miovski can just run his lights, and you kind of watch it and go, you're meant to be like, Carter Vickers, you're meant to be like a £6.5 million defender. Surely they can go in the park and have the mentality of, just watch him. Just make sure he does not get that chance to make those runs or whatever. Even if you're blocking him or shadowing him or whatever, does somebody not take charge of that area and say, right, just make sure somebody's always got him because he's the only guy that's going to score for them. That kind of aspect, you know what I'm saying?
But you could say that. Pretty much.
I know it's simplistic.
Kyogo with Celtic over the last couple of seasons, right? Surely opposition teams with I know it's by his own high standards, maybe not quite hit the highs along with others this season. But then other teams would say, pre-match talk, Kyogo, he's going to make these runs. There's 2 centre halves here, one of him, one go tight, one peel off or whatever. it applies to every team at most levels, and just sometimes in football, especially the first few minutes, teams are just things happen. And I would always say to the start here, if we scored a goal like that, we'd have seen the positives in it. We'd have seen the great pass, the great run. But when your team loses a goal like that, you see the negatives a lot of the time. And you're right, I felt they were too square, but it's the first 2 minutes of the game. Players are just settling in, and it's probably we're caught cold, to be honest with you. Just getting caught cold.
Right. So that's a good phrase, right? That caught cold. Do we think Aberdeen did surprise us with their tactics, or do you think they just get that goal and that changed their mentality for the game, so to speak? Did one, was it a domino effect, or did the goal come for them actually having the attitude of get up the park and go for them rather than sit in and hope for a lucky 1-0 set piece, as we've saw before and days gone by? They've actually came up the park, 40 yards up the park, and actually made the goals happen. Do you think that was a shock, Monty, to the Celtic team, or do you think it was just because they got an early goal and then that helped bring their confidence on?
I'd say we probably had prepared for it, but the manner in which they went about it probably caught us just a wee bit unawares. And again, you're looking at a goal in the first minute, a goal in the last minute of normal time, and a goal in the last minute of extra time, when you play out the whole sequence of the game. And that suggests just a better desire or hunger. You're not letting it go. Do you know what I mean? That they're for Aberdeen, and then Rodgers talked about it after the game, they'd nothing to lose, so they died with their boots on type thing. And I think there's a if that's a good wake up call. I know the players talked about, after the game, they said they had a bit of a debrief among themselves after the game, and you're hoping that that's what it's about. The notion of, we have to, as Hector said, we have to be ruthless. You have to be fucking, don't take your foot off the pedal for a second. And where we would normally be the ones pulling out last minute equalisers or last minute winners, we very nearly got caught. But then it's just similar to Coventry City against United, I guess, the day after. They had nothing to lose. Desi and Aberdeen really did put it up to us, but I'm hoping there's just that nice little learner in there to go, lads, you have effectively 6 more cup finals here. Do not for a second take your foot off the gas.
Well, yeah, again, you've just made me realise something there. So, Hector, Rangers game, because I wrote here, take lead, lose it, take lead, lose it. And then I was about to say, when was the last time we did that? And then I realised that would be the Rangers game. You know what I mean? So, I don't want to say there's a pattern forming, but again, is there a question that Rodgers has to make sure he's addressing? So, either fitness, concentration, whatever it is, seeing the game out, killing a game off, all these sort of things wrapped up in get the job done sort of approach.
Just different games. I get what you're saying. Sometimes you can see a pattern with things, and I get it. That's, a lot of it can be true, but I would just judge each game by its merits. In this case, the game at Ibrox, we were 2-0 coasting, and they get a penalty that wasn't a penalty, right? And the ref cautioned the guy for about his 5th dive of the game, and then VAR, for an inexplicable reason, asked him to look at it. So I would just say 2-0 up.
Sorry, you just don't like saying the name Fabio Silva, don't you?
It's like Lovenkrands. I find it hard to say. It's just guys that constantly cheat, right? And he even Rangers fans, they know that. You work with guys same as I do, and they'll tell you straight he's a diving so and so. But I would just judge each game by its merits. I think if it had been similar to the Aberdeen game, but we were so much in control with no fans there. And as Monty said, Aberdeen had nothing to lose. They were so disappointing in the league this season. And they're shown on their day, us at Pittodrie, was it 1 each earlier on? Yep. They drew with Rangers 1 each, when Rangers, surprise, got a 93rd minute penalty for their equaliser up there. So on their day, they're probably, with Hearts fighting to be the 3rd best team. They've been so underachieved in the league this year. But in the cup, the pressure off, they threw the kitchen sink at us. And the early goal gave them a massive boost they probably weren't expecting. So I would treat it differently. If the same happens again this weekend, Desi, then I'm 100% with you. You're right. But I wouldn't say it's a pattern just yet.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Right, so let's concentrate on the actual goals then, Monty. Kuhn scoring after good work by Kyogo, and then the young master Forrest coming on and scoring yet again. Hector's pumping the air here.
I beg your pardon.
And then Matt O'Reilly apparently was brought on as a secret sub because I never actually saw him during the game, so I never noticed when he came on.
Or Rio.
But you know, I actually had the question as in, is this another game where the midfield never turned up until maybe they score a goal? Because again, they weren't influential in the game. Cal Mack had to be taken off, and I'm not having a go at him. I'm just saying as in there was clearly something lacking again there. And I'm not having a go. I'm not meaning to be the whole negative and having a go here. It's just as we're looking forward to the next 5-6 games. We obviously want the best.
Be negative, Desi.
I'm trying to get a bit of balance. To your two guys, overly optimistic. We lulled Aberdeen into a false.
Optimistic football supporter.
We lulled Aberdeen into a false sense of security and let them score in the last minute.
You team being top of the league and in a cup final being optimistic. Who'd have thought it?
You need to get out that South stand.
This is why I'm starting Tim's Celtic Women's Side podcast, and that's all I'm going to do because at least they girls enjoy the game. You know what I mean?
See that talent show that you share with that whole row in the South stand? Get it to fuck.
You'll be passing around fucking false teeth next to his miserable bastards.
You'll have next.
Listen, just because Monty,
they don't make those Werther originals the way they used to.
Monty, just because you've suddenly got a ticket for the Hearts game, don't start coming all over. Don't take concessions, funds. Don't start that nonsense. Yes, right. So James Forrest comes on and scores. Monty, great to see James Forrest come on, but again, is it a sign of the times that we still don't seem to have really reliable wingers who can turn it on week in, week out. And I don't know if it is green tinted glasses that we all just remember Jota doing it every week, so to speak. But you always felt that he could turn it on at some point. Leo Abada would also get you a goal at some point. The guys at the moment.
Yeah. The Abada, I think, was the exception to the rule, Desi, and I genuinely, I'm not fluffing it. I think this is purely down to there's a level of inexperience with the wingers that we have. They haven't done the course. They haven't gone the course before, and they just lack that wee bit of nous, that wee bit of know-how. And in that world, you know, someone like Forrest, been there, done that. I read something during the week as well about him being, you know, very much a reference point now, in a way that he was always perceived as a quiet, sort of more shy one in the dressing room. They're now looking to him for leadership as well. So it's understandable to that point, but from a talent and where he is on his career trajectory, you're right to maybe flag it. But I think, Desi, if it was this time next year, or if Kuhn had been there from the start of the season, or Yang, if they were in their mid-20s, because we forget too, Jota was what, 25, 26?
No,
he left us.
It's not that old. I think maybe he was 24 when he left.
24 when he left. Aye. But I think that's maybe the difference, Desi. You know, like just 1 or 2 years more experience where they've run the course. You know, I think that's probably the reasoning for it. You know, let the young fellas. You're bleeding them almost this year. You're bleeding them in. And we have 3 new wingers, effectively, in Yang and Kuhn, and who's the third one in my head? I had 3 for some reason in my head, but I can't remember the third one. Oh, he's gone. Tell you, it's way back there. It's way back there.
Yang and Kuhn and Palmer. Palmer's new.
Palmer. Sorry, yeah, there was a third one. Sorry, right. So they haven't done it yet, but next year, Desi, absolutely. Been there, done that. You know, hopefully got the t-shirts, got the double, and now you know what's expected of you in a Scottish Cup semi-final, or indeed any semi-final for that matter. So,
I would agree with a lot of that. I would just say though that we sometimes see things through even more green tinted specs with players once they leave, and that's just not just us. That's most football fans with players. So Jota did have his dips in form, right? It maybe didn't feel like it now he's gone. I think the biggest issue is that there's a drop off in quality from Jota to the guys that have came in, and I think that's the real issue, is that there's nobody anywhere near him so far. Don't say that the Kuhn is showing flashes, that he's clearly got pace and good ability, but I think there's a good old kind of Glasgow, Western Scotland where Gallus, Jota had a bit of Gallus about him. You know, that I'm the man, give me the ball, Whereas the personality for the shirt, if that's, I know it sounds
And
daft sometimes, but I mean, it was like he wanted, I'm the man in front of 50, 60,000. Give me the ball.
Yeah.
These guys, they're all different personalities, and I think so far they're clearly not the same level as him from a football perspective, and personality-wise, they're definitely nowhere near him.
Yeah.
So it's quite a drop-off in my opinion.
But the kids, they're kids, Hector. They're 20, 21 years of age. Like, Palma maybe 22. They're not there yet. They've got another year or two, and I suspect then that Gallus, that give me the ball, I've got this. I think that's when it starts to shine. And unfortunately, they'll probably be at the end of a cycle, and we'll be fucking selling it for 10 million. So hopefully we change that. Maybe let them hang about for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, right. So Jota was 21 when he came to us. Played 62 games and scored 21 goals. And God, I didn't tell you how many he's applied. But again, Hector, that was a good point. It was the fact that for the old cliche saying, Jota played with a smile on his face. I mean, like, he basically got everybody, entertainer, but also seemed to be enjoying it. Whereby, as Monty's mentioned there, suddenly the wingers at the moment still seem to be carrying the world on their shoulders. James Forrest runs like he's carrying the world on his shoulders, but you can see when he scored that goal down, like, he knows he doesn't even look up. He just curls that ball into the bottom corner. That kind of know-how in the nous, etc. That experience of when to actually shoot from outside the box, or rather than don't try and take the guy on twice. I mean, like, I think a couple of times with Yang, and you're going, you beat him, just get it in. And then he would turn again, and you're like, he would. I mean, that couldn't.
Let's be honest with Yang, right? In the first half, we're all shouting, "Get him fucking off!"
I think my tweet was, he's not coming out for the second half, is he? And everybody was basically replying, "Fucking none of them should." A lot of them, none of them should come out and stuff. But it was a rabbit in the headlights. But
he's shown in parts this season, and we know that, right? He's actually up until Tynecastle when he got the red card at Tynecastle, right? He was playing really well. But Monty's point, he is, I think, the youngest guy there. I think he is just turned 20.
He's turned 20.
So I wouldn't, guys at that age, different part of the world, the opposite end of the world almost. I would be being patient with them, but maybe now is not the time for him to have a regular start. Now, maybe it's the bench for him.
Business end of the season is where you need to either have been there or done that, or you've got a calm head about it, or you're not trying too hard. And I remember saying that at the start of the season, before Palma clicked in, he just looked like a player that was trying too hard. And Yang was the same. When Yang started to get around, he was trying too hard. And for some of these guys, they just need to go, if they can get on autopilot, especially wingers. To your point, Desi, if they're coached, beat the guy, put the ball in, then why the fuck are you coming back? So there's probably an element of them. You remember, they're all there to learn their trade as well. We forget that. They're all effectively apprentices in a professional game. At that age, you're still learning your trade. You're learning everything about fucking diet, preparation, sleep, fucking everything in that. So, and every one of them's different. Carter Vicker's development plan for this year would be very, very different than fucking Scales', for example. Just simply because of where they are in their careers. So, I think Hector's right. I wouldn't be too critical of them, but I also wouldn't be putting them in the firing line. They're great things to have if we are up against it, and you've got that type of talent where Yang can beat a player. Kuhn can go past a player without a doubt. And Palma, I'd just love to see Palma be a wee bit more direct instead of that cutting back that he does all the time, but he's very effective. So we've got options. But Forrest, for me, has got a huge part to play between now and the end of the year, without a doubt.
I think Palmer, the jury, I think, is very much still out. I think we've went for confidence in him to now wondering, is he flattered to deceive? So he's kind of a bit of a roller coaster. So again, we'll see if he can actually find form. And as was mentioned, this is when the chips are down. This is when people like your Forrest know what's expected and know how to get through a game, kind of thing. I can't believe Hector's probably shaking his head, I know, wondering. I set you up perfectly there, Monty, to tell us all about that goal at Celtic Park you scored when I mentioned how Forrest cut in and knew instinctively how to cut it into the bottom corner. But you never, for the first time ever, you never mentioned it. So clearly it's because it was at Hampden. That's what it must have been.
It was the notion of last minute equalisers that kind of tripped me, because there's nothing better, especially into the Rangers end, with your weaker foot, by the way, Desi. But yes,
as if you've got a weaker foot.
Well, they did say that a tin of beans with the right foot and a tin of optimism with the left.
So Hector, I'll give you a choice. Do you want to go to penalties or do you want to go to critical review of our defenders? What do you want to go first?
Well, let's end it at high. So we'll start with the.
No. They're both highs. Sorry, what did you say? What did you choose?
I'll go for a critical review of defenders, right?
Right. So that's not the reason I'm saying this is right because there was a bit of back and forth here and there on Twitter. Obviously, a lot of Celtic fans were really annoyed the way the game upped and down, and thankfully we got there in the end.
Imagine a team scoring goals against us,
ridiculous, pure brazen, utterly brazen. But so there was a lot of people shouting out, especially for Liam Scales, right? And I had a good kind of back and forth on your Twitter with quite a few folk, because I could be a total minority of one, but I'll let you give your point first. Regards the actual defensive frailties. So Hector, I know you've always had major concerns about the whole left-hand side thing for us.
Well, I think it's all about what you watch week in, week out, and I keep saying a couple of things, right? Number one, see during a game, when you're on Twitter during the game, emotions are mental. And I'm as guilty, you're as guilty, Desi, we all do it from time to time, right? And I would just say that during a match itself, and probably the hour or so after a match, isn't probably the best time to tweet sensibly about things, because we all get caught up in the moment, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is with our left-sided defence, go back 12 months, we're having a podcast. Thinking ahead to this coming season, I think all of us had said we need to strengthen the left-sided centre-back and the left-back. The two guys give their absolute best. No one's disputing that. It's no about lack of application, lack of commitment, lack of effort. It's just lack of physicality, lack of pace. We need to bring it up a level. And I think last weekend, I think so often this season we've been targeted on our left side. Teams almost immediately from kickoff will go and target our left side. So I think it has to happen this summer. We have to get somebody else in. I think whoever the scouts were, let's not go there, that was a different podcast last year, and obviously thought that Naroki and Lagabielka were the answer. I don't know what the question was, if they were the answer, right?
Scrabble. What would be two good names for Scrabble players?
We've subsequently... Sorry, Hector, go on ahead. I'll come back.
And we'd obviously, Bernie was brought in just before that, and let's be honest, they wouldn't get a game in a five-a-side team for over 50s, would they? Right?
It'd look good at St Mary's with us too.
Hey, remember, you're the B team.
I bet he'd have been good up down these stairs. He'd have loved these stairs.
Imagine me, John Rysam. Anyway, but the point stands, right? So when we dropped a lot of points just after the break in January, in effect, we had 3 of our 4 starting defenders missing. So Carter Vickers was out, Alistair Johnson was out, and Greg Taylor was out. With like Ralston, Welsh, Scales, and Burnaby. Think about that. That's like a mid-table SPL defence, being blunt about it, right? So I'm not disputing effort. Just look at that card on the table because it's important. It's not criticising for the sake of saying you're shite. It's not like that. They're just not the level that we should be getting at our club with the money we've got in the bank and the guys we've got playing other positions. We should be able to bring it up a level. So I've got to get it out there. Scales for the 2 crosses and Taylor behind them. We've got to do better. Once you get away with Monty, once no two two almost identical positions. Come
Disagree. They were.
I know because you love scales. I know that, right?
No. Well, here. First thing. Sorry, Desi. I wanted to come in, but I wanted Hector to round that out if I can. First thing. Has Welsh ever been in a Scotland squad?
Don't think so. 21s maybe.
No, he was captain of the 21s. Has he made the full squad yet?
He's not played.
I'll check.
No. Check. Has he got a cap? I think he might have got a run, or he might have got into the squad.
Jack Henry's played 30 games for Scotland and he's shite. What does that tell you?
He's quality. He's got Bambi on ice. Quality.
So the reason I asked that, it was back to our, what you called it, that mid SPL sort of starting back four. And then the hiring profile of Rocky and fucking Gusty and Bernie, right? We actually found out in the ripping up of the LOL playbook and the clearing out of some of the staff, the brief for our scouting department was to find players 22 or younger who had international experience. That was the only player within their parameters that they could propose to the manager. And that came out, I don't know where or in what context that came out, but that came out after those 2 or 3 boys all got popped. So it makes it understandable as to how we've ended up with the type of player that we have, some of whom make it and most of them don't. So that's obviously been ripped up now. So on that defensive frailty piece, I agree that second starting back four is a little bit scary. But ironically, they all fit the fucking profile. Bernabei, I think, was an Argentinian under-21 international, if I'm not mistaken. Ralston,
football? Was it football?
Yes, seemingly. Ralston is a Scottish international, fully capped, albeit homegrown. And Scales had, I think, a couple of caps, or at least a couple of squads when he was at Aberdeen. So, sorry. The other piece that I do disagree on, the 2 balls that those boys put into the back post were fucking pinpoint. They took out both centre halves. They dropped it in there.
Tight to the player you're marking. Come on.
Right. Let the man speak. Let the man speak, because you've not heard me yet. So prepare yourself.
The ball in was both of those crosses into our box. And I watched, who the fuck was on in the background the other night? The Leicester City game. Indeed, a guy that we were heavily linked with at the start of the season, but we could never afford his wages. I watched a guy for Leicester City put in an exact fucking identical ball right over the top of the second trailing centre half, right into the gap between him and the fullback. And indeed, he just fucking no one just ghosted him. And it looked like Southampton had fallen asleep at the wheel. They hadn't. So defensive frailties, I think we can pick holes in Taylor and Scales as inadequacies. But the reality is a left-sided centre-half with international experience, or at least capable of playing at Champions League level, is probably going to cost you 8 to 10 million. And similarly at left-back, because they're like hands teeth. And I have a funny feeling we'll just end up stuck with those 2 boys. No, I don't say stuck, and I don't mean that negatively.
A very good squad players, just to be clear, Monty. I'm not. Yeah, okay. I think Ralston. Sorry, Desi. I know you're going to come in. I think Ralston as a backup, right? No got a problem with that. Back until we get somebody else, obviously, whatever. And Taylor is absolutely adequate as a guy competing for left back position. He's dependable, certainly domestically, most of the time. So fine, but that should be more of a backup, in my opinion, rather than first choice. And it's clear there is a drop off at the left side. The facts are there anyway. I'll shut up. Desi, go for it.
Okay, I'm just checking some facts there for Monty. Alexandro Bernabei has played twice for Argentina's under 23s. He's not even played. He's only played 85 games in his career. One of these strange modern footballers who get better at games they don't play. Stephen Welsh has only played for Scotland under 21 level, under 17s, 19s, and 21s. He's played 40 times for Celtic. I never realised Stephen Welsh is 6'3", according to Wikipedia. He doesn't look at it, does he? He looks more like 5'10". So that's what
he's 5'11", 6 foot at the most.
Well, according to Wikipedia, he's 6'3", 1.91 metres. A good Coke Ridge man, so he deserves to be in the squad. Right, so my take on last week's game, and in general the last few weeks, and Hector, I don't think you'll like this, is one of the biggest defensive culprits for us has been Alistair Johnson. He's been doing listen, bear with me. Defensive wise, he's been doing a Tavernier, great going forward, set up 2 goals that week. But defensive wise, those 2 crosses should never have come in to be dealt with last week. He was nowhere to be seen. When you watch that game, he's nowhere near the ball to stop the cross going in. He doesn't push the guy down the line. He lets Hoylett cut in twice and put the same ball in twice. So I'm a very much a stop at source guy. So that ball should never come in. Joe Hart stands on his line and doesn't move either for that perfect ball. This is my opinion. I just think that ball should never have come in twice. The fact it came in twice, I think Johnson really has big questions to ask. Thanks very much. And that also ties in.
There's even Apple saying you're talking shite. There you go.
That also ties into Rodgers' tactics, sending like Taylor's running back, Johnson's running back, rather than they just sit in and defend the lead. They just see the game out. I just thought there was a general errors all over the place, and everybody just seemed to lump on Scales. Scales seems to be an easy fall guy for people. Carter Vickers is your £6.5 million defender, and I think he gets away with a lot of people just saying it's fine. Scales is a guy that's got to bring the ball out all the time, and again he gets abused because he'll overrun it and he'll lose it. He's a League of Ireland player.
Why do you think Scales brings the ball out?
What do you mean, Becky? Well, I don't see Carter Vickers doing it rampaging runs.
So watch the game on Sunday if they're both starting, right? And if Dundee copy what other clubs do against us, what they do when Carter Vickers has got the ball, they tend to close the space in front of him, right? Because they don't want him bringing the ball forward. Goes to Scales, they step back a few yards. They target the player they want to give possession of the ball to. That's a common thing. Taylor happens to Taylor a lot as well, right? So I'm just saying, just watch it, mate. That's a pattern where teams do that with, is they tend to give it to the player who's the weakest or doesn't have the greatest of pace.
Right. The
recovery for Carter Vickers is he's got pace. Scales has got less pace. Just watch it. Just an observation, right?
Right. So that also ties into my other question, stroke perspective. If everyone seems to believe there's an issue on Celtic's left-hand side of the pitch or defence, why don't the rest of the side compensate, or why does the manager not compensate to make sure that side's no attacked? You know what I mean? So this is where my perspective of is. But what's Brendan doing to stop it? What's Alistair Johnson doing to stop it? What's the midfield doing to stop it? These sort of things.
Monty, we're doing the final, we're top of the league. Would you think that for a second?
But
6 games to a double, and fuck me, we're a club in crisis.
I don't understand what. If I am not saying anything negative. I'm trying to put the fact that people are making Scales a fall guy purely because he's an easy fall. I'm talking about the general public. I'm not talking about you or Monty or particular. I'm talking about the general reaction.
Who are getting emotional during the game.
No, but even after the game, it was literally people like that should never play for Celtic. I'm telling you.
People letting off steam. It doesn't replicate 60,000 people. There's maybe a 5% who get.
So you don't think a lot of fans out there were screaming for? Do you think all the fans that were screaming for Scales' blood during the game have now calmed down and they'll be quite happy to see him?
What percentage of the fan base? What percentage of the fan base are screaming for Scales? You go to the games and so do I. We go when there's 60,000 people at the game. How many of them are screaming for Scales to get to top? Seriously? Very few. Very few.
It's very clear. It's just more anti-Irish, Scottish bias, irrespective of what team they support. And, you did it with Anton Rogan. You nearly broke him. You fucking ran Lenny out of town. You just run
that Irishman, Greg Taylor.
Ran O'Neill. Ran O'Neill out of town. Now fucking Scales is getting it. I mean, when he's going to get over this whole fucking Celtic cousins thing and just accept this? Like, fuck me. Better together and all that. I
well, you've got that pattern now, better together.
I'm affronted by the.
You can do a dangerous road there.
Ungrateful, sure, but Okay,
Can we get to some positives now, Desi?
Yeah, right. Let's get to some positive.
It's going to hurt you thinking about positivity, right? But we'll try and get there.
I'll try my best without slitting my wrist. So we're in this cup final thanks to penalties and Hector with the joy of Joe Hart, hero, Joe Hart, villain. The joys of a goalkeeper during penalties.
It was interesting because he came to penalty shootout, being honest with you. Our track record this season, I was going, oh, for fuck's sake. Genuinely going, for fuck's sake, right? But then the quality of the penalties was pretty impressive. It was good to see Palmer after that. Was it the game? We missed 2 in the one game. I thought, fuck. His penalty was a beauty. For Ellie's, after the dink at Ibrox, he totally changed. Another absolute beauty. And the boy for Aberdeen that missed hit the post, didn't he? Inside of the post. So Hearts went up to take it, and probably me alongside. I'd imagine virtually every Celtic supporter on the planet's going, Joe Hart's taking a fucking penalty, right? And you've just got this sense of genuinely, no. And he runs up quite confident, doesn't he? Just runs up quite confident, leathers it. Unfortunately, leathers it off the post. But what was really fascinating about it when he missed, and I was talking to a couple of guys in work this week about this, was he was smiling. You know that he seemed, and I think we kicked it about a wee bit. And I think the view is because he's announced his retirement end of the season, he seemed quite calm in himself. Quite what will be. But I've got this. As if I've got this. We're going to win this. Maybe it was overconfidence. Maybe he believes in fate. I don't know. But he was so confident, so relaxed, so happy. And then lo and behold, fucking next penalty, he saves it, didn't he?
Yeah. But the weird thing about Monty also was, so we're all basically still staring at the screen, agog at Joe Hart like striking the post, and then down goes the Aberdeen keeper again, and he's stranded there with cramp, and that young Aberdeen guy's going, wait a minute, I'm going to take a penalty, no that way, and it causes another minute wasted. Joe Hart then just falls to the side and saves it. So it was pure surreal, and like again, my wife walked into the kitchen, Joe Hart saved it, I went, yes, never in doubt, and my wife just went, fuck's sake. No, he just turned around and walked back out the door. It's how can you go from one extreme to the other?
Yeah. The pageantry of it, like I think, Roger said he needed therapy after him and fucking 60,000 others. It's genuinely, it's the beauty of Celtic. So many of these things I've in my lifetime, and fucking long before it, and it'll be long after. There's just so much drama associated with it. Funny, we had a debate, but I think it might even have been on our WhatsApp. Do you think maybe sentimentality kicked in that they gave Hart a penalty? But then he was talking about it.
They got interviewed after the game. Forrest, it was Forrest that said it, not Hart. Forrest said, well, we've practiced the penalties, and Joe
was the best.
He was one of the best at scoring penalties.
The best at the club.
And it wasn't a particularly badly hit penalty. Someone tried to point out the ball seemingly shifted when he planted his foot. I didn't believe that. I couldn't see it. But the theatre and the pantomime of it, and just how, as you said, in the space of 60 seconds, he's a useless fucker, and then he's a fucking hero. It's just joyous.
Can I turn that his head just slightly, right? And it's easy to say this when you win, right? If we'd have lost the penalties, it'd be a very different. Let's be blunt, a different conversation. So when you win, but just to turn its head slightly, we've got no divine right to win every game we play, including cup semi-finals and finals. I think sometimes we've got to go over ourselves because we've won so much in the last few years. The most trophies I think we've ever won over a 10-year period or 5-6-year period, whatever. And I'm as guilty as anybody about it. I expect us to win 3-0 at the weekend. And I think semi-finals, you mentioned Monty, the Man U Coventry game's a good example of that. Man U were 3-0 up, weren't they? And Coventry get 3 in the last 15-20 minutes and should have probably won it in extra time.
Perfectly good goal, that's allowed. Perfectly good goal.
It's probably an example to us where I think it would probably go down as one of the great semi-finals in terms of 3 each, great opportunities not taken, penalty drama. When the goals were scored, you touched upon it there, Desi, the goalkeeper fucking get down in the penalty shootout. So I think sometimes, take a wee step back. We won the game. It's a cup semi-final. They threw the sink at us. We won the great. We won. But what a game it was. I mean, I know we're Celtic. If you're anybody else watching it, you're going, what a fucking game that was.
Yeah, it's not the one no unusual aspect or infrequent aspect of it last week was like, again, tweeting, I'm like, I've got a sore jaw and a sore neck watching this game. I can taste my fillings. I mean, the tension and your whole bones were like starting to crumble because you were so tense just watching it. And that's been a while since we've been like that. I mean, like, really at that level. Because as you mentioned also, Monty, we were kind of used to also, we'll score a goal in the last 10 minutes. Or we'll keep going, underhands, we'll keep going, it will come, so to speak. Whereas that one last week, you're literally, your fingers, your white knuckle ride, and it was, as Hector said, it's great when you win. We'd probably still be kicking the cat, if we'd lost that one.
But there's a serious point to that too, Desi, that the boost...
bring us down, on you go.
No, but it's a positive, but it's serious. The boost that gives to a bunch of players, even after you feel maybe, fuck, we could have done better, could have got out of jail. But the fact that you got through it, because penalty, pure lottery, I know cliche and all that, but pure lottery, could have went anywhere. But we didn't, we got through it. And then you have the joy of it, and you can see Hart, as all the players around him, he's kind of hands up, as Hector said, the notion of, he's kind of a wee bit zen on this, like, lads, no big deal, should have been done earlier. But then they get in the change room, and they lock down the sort of emotions and go, listen, don't let another fucking game get like that. We have to be tuned in. There's such a huge shot in the arm, Desi. The counter to that, had we been beaten on penalties, and you know what's coming next, you know what's going to happen over the next 5 games. They've already started it in the media. It's as if somehow this is a procession for us. It's fucking far from it. They have played their early VAR card and early ref card by putting, I know we're going to talk about the upcoming games, but everything geared up for tomorrow is geared up for us to take a fall. How they've reported it, how everything else has been under the radar on the other side of the city, and even another 2 fingers up the Rogers with the officials that have been appointed for tomorrow. So it was like, I think in the grand scheme of things, if we get over the line on both of these, that penalty shootout, I know it's just very easy to fucking say it, but that penalty shootout, I think, is the trigger as to whether we get over the line or not. And I'm hoping it's positive. Because these fuckers are going to do everything to stop us. We're guaranteed in the next 6 games, they're going to do everything to stop us.
This before we go to the Dundee game, the last aspect on the penalties, I was just thinking to myself there, it was the joy of picturing every Celtic fan around the world when the players got after Hart and hit 2 perfect penalties. That way in thing me actually like kind of, was it a Water and Johnson? And you can hear everyone also going, why did they no fucking take it in the first like, you can't comprehend as a fan how it works out. Yeah. And everybody's trying to explain it on Twitter and beyond. But yeah, so we made it to the cup final. That's something to look forward to on May the 25th of all days. So that'll be interesting. It will be at 3 p.m, Hector. There was a lot of discussion, would it be moved? But as you mentioned on our WhatsApp, it wouldn't be moved. So that was good. So it will be free. So that brings us to... And then there were 6, right? So we'll get 6 games left now. So Hector, 5 league, one cup. That's what I mean. So again, Hector was holding his hand up there. But yeah, I'm keeping perspective. If we win the first 4 league games, then we can probably ignore the last one, if you know what I mean, result wise. I'm thinking. So that would be it done. We could just relax for the last game at home, get the trophy, touch wood, and then we'll get the cup final. But Hector, I know we're moving on to the Dundee game, so before that, I'd just like to check, Monty, have they moved the Lurgan time zone to 24 hours in advance? I don't think we play until Sunday, actually.
Sorry, my apologies.
I know you, your international datelines are all over the place sometimes, but just to be sure. Yeah. So Hector, it was Brendan's press conference today, I believe, for the Dundee game.
Yes, indeed. So I'll give you guys a wee summary, but what I'll also do, once I do this, I'll go and dig it out and I'll play. I'll dig out the wee section and play. It's about 30 seconds because I want to capture it right. But to cut long story short, I watched it just prior to us doing the pod tonight, and the questions were really interesting. In terms of, obviously they covered the cup final, blah 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 blah. Then the focus was on the weekends again. Spoke a lot about James Forrest. They asked him about James Forrest, his influence, and which Monty I think touched upon there, and you as well, Desi. And just saying that he's going to be so important to us in the run in. Obviously, can he do 90 minutes? The intensity of the game now, and I think that was demonstrated in the cup semi-final last week because he came on, but was it 60, 65 minutes? Then he took off in the last 2 or 3 minutes. But he mentioned that what he does, what he brings to the team, how important it is for young wingers to watch how he gets the ball wide on the touchline, hugging the touchline, by stretching the width of the pitch, but how he controls the ball, the angle of his body to protect it, keep the ball, and then the runs he makes both in to create space and out to vary the game. So it was really, really fascinating. But he was asked about, and this is the bit I'm going to dig out, he was asked about mentality, which is one of his favourite words, if you know, right? Mr. Bullshit Extraordinaire, but fucking he loves the word mentality. Character. But mentality is his word this season, right? And I'm not disputing for a second he actually doesn't believe when he talks about mentality, but he says it a lot. And I've no doubt he must say that a lot to his players all the time. But he mentions he's quite a hands-on coach. He's not one of the coaches that turns up on a Friday and then the players can piss about throughout the week. He goes, at training, I expect every player to turn up every day at training and give it their absolute best. And I judge players on that. And he goes, the ones that are performing in training for me week in, week out, pretty much are the ones that will make the squad. And if there's guys there that's took a wee dip or whatever, or they're not doing it, then, they'll have to up it a bit. It was really fascinating. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Mentality. And he was asked about, somebody asked about the last few games when Celtic, tend to raise their game. And he basically said along the words of, this is when Celtic come alive. He said that 2 weeks ago, right? The last few. He goes, this is, and I'm paraphrasing, this is the champions running. This is the mentality of champions the next few weeks, right? And you're watching it and you're going, fuck me, right? You can see what he's doing here, right? And it's about mentality.
Was it a wooden spoon or was it a metal ladle he was stirring with?
This is when you demonstrate champions mentality, right? And he kept saying it, right? And this is about I'm going to dig out because I won't have got it word for word. Do you know what he's like, right? But Desi, we were saying last week, he's clearly practiced this, right? From Monday or Tuesday in his house, right? With his missus. He went, here, come on, have I got this right? Have I got this?
I've got the leg.
Brendan, she's going, Brendan, stare at the camera. Stare at the camera. Right, say it now. It's about champions mentality. It's about the mentality. And I was fucking wet myself, right? So what I'll do is I'll go and dig it out. You guys kick it about. I'll hopefully get the next couple of minutes. I'll give the nod and I'll try and play it because it's fucking great. Right.
If not, I can always try and find it also. But yeah, well, Hector's trying to find that, Monty. Do you think Dundee will then take... They had a good game against Rangers and then watching Aberdeen's game against us. Do you think they're going to have a let's attack this mob approach?
I think so. I think that we're going to find ourselves being attacked a little bit more, certainly by them. I would expect Hearts to come at us a bit more because Naismith's just a sleeked wee fucker and he will really want the damages. I mentioned this in my own little paranoid way. We're coming up against 4 Hun managers in one team. Like Clement is obviously the Huns manager, and then we've Naismith, we've got McInnes, and we've got Robinson, who's he just is, and then we've got Dundee's manager, who is obviously not of that particular persuasion. So what would be lovely would be to put about 6 past them, but that's not going to happen. They'll come at us, and again they've nothing to lose. Aberdeen showed it. And I think for teams that do want to go against this, I wouldn't say it's a template, Desi, but there's a little chink in the armour there that they might think they can exploit. But to Rogers kind of layering on the sauce now, this is it. You have 6 games left, lads. Everything you do has to be, 100%. And if we look after ourselves, we said it all season. if we turn up and look after ourselves, Desi, we'll be all right. We'll get over the line. But the problem is going to be external. It's not going to be what happens on the pitch. It's going to be the external variables, I think, in the next certainly the next 5 league matches. Because they don't need to penalise us all the time, or they don't need to be so overtly anti us. They just need to keep giving them a leg up. Because when they need the penalty in the 93rd minute, they get it. When we need it, we won't get it. Never. So, as Hector pointed out, it's about mentality and character.
I was just checking.
I've dug out the clip there, right? To the point, just so we capture it. Okay, let me play it and let it run. 30 seconds to a minute, but we can only do it in his way. Here we go. We'll hand over. Let me know if this is coming through. Okay, here it goes.
Through your headphones. It'll be through your headphones.
This is classic. Never do on race day when you have it.
That's why you don't get a project manager to do the technical stuff.
Obviously skips the testing phase repeatedly through build.
Mr. Product Owner there.
Always deliver.
Just send me a link in the WhatsApp and I'll get it. I'll put it in. Yeah, it was a bit of a attempt. It was like a Liam Scales attempt at IT there. It was a bit of a attempt and we don't call your enthusiasm.
all feels a bit Stuart Slater after that.
No, I had all the right keys, but not necessarily.
Oh, fuck that.
It's the listeners I feel sorry for who are looking forward to that there. I can only apologise, folks, and I will find it and slice it. Let me take a time note. That was one hour. Right, okay, let me just take...
He's an arm fist pump away from being Eyal Berkovich in terms of his delivery.
I was honestly waiting for him to say, I can hear it fine. You know what I mean?
What's your problem?
Right, yeah, and before I get right, so yeah, apparently Tony Docherty will know he's in the stand, he's banned, so to speak. So let me just, I had to check there, Monty, while you were speaking, regards the officials. John Beaton. Remember that time Wally Collum was cited by Rangers and never got an hard game? So John Beaton, is it 3 of our last 4, including the last Hun game, or 3 of our last 6 or whatever? So John Beaton has been appointed referee. The affair, it says here on 67 Hail. Meanwhile, and I had to catch my eyes here, David Roome, Roome. I thought it was David Rome for a second.
And by the
David
way,
Roome and Dougie Potter.
He's anything but Rome, by the way, this guy. This guy. Another season, by the way, another Rangers season ticket holder.
Yeah. This is
Dougie Potter. That just sounds like a guy doing the bowling club, doesn't it? Dougie Potter. What is it?
They're not even hiding it. They're not even trying to hide it. This is literally David fucking Rooney's, you fucking terrier bastards. They're not even trying to hide it. This is in your face. And that's what I'm saying. I was saying as you were digging up that clip, Hector. If we look after ourselves on the pitch, I wasn't as if we look after what we're doing on the pitch, we'd be fine. But that's not going to be the problem. The problem is these fuckers interjecting in the next 5 or 6 games, and they're going to.
I heard you mention there the fact that since they complained about Collum, who's a dreadful referee, right? Dreadful referee, but who they complained about him was it December? And he's not
twice.
And he's not had a league game with theirs in four almost 5 months. And by the way, Collum's the only referee in Scotland who's officiating in European competitions.
Yep.
So he's, we all think he's shite, but UEFA clearly have him as our best referee. So our best referee, according to UEFA, hasn't been deemed good enough to referee a game involving Rangers in over 4 months since they complained about, right? Whereas we're stuck with the same shite group of people we seem to get every second or third. It feels like every second or third game. I'm probably dramatising it a bit, right? And yet again, our friend on VAR, Desi's pal on VAR, who's no fit enough to be a referee, Dallas Jr., seems to get an incredible amount of games involving both them and us. I mean, it's no, in any sense to imagine, it's no right. It's no right.
I had a great chat. I think he's a good mate of mine, Snaffle Taffle on Twitter. I had a really good chat with him during the week about it, and his missus would, she'd come from a family from the other side of the house, and very much has got into the whole Celtic thing, obviously through him and the whole family. But anyway, they were having a discussion. He was telling me, she's like, "Why do you keep getting so annoyed about it? What do you mean?" She's like, "You have effectively entered a rigged competition, and you know that it's a rigged competition. So why don't you just do something about it? Because even if you end up on the wrong side of the rigged competition, it's not that you didn't fucking know it was rigged." And it's a really, really interesting way for someone who obviously wants us to succeed, and she genuinely does. She's fully on board. But it was I thought, a fucking really profound observation. We go into this eyes wide open. We know that they're going to fucking cheat us. This goes back long before any of the three of us were even fucking born. This goes back beyond steam and a way past. Yet we turn up for it because somehow we accept it. And we shouldn't fucking accept it, to your point, Hector. It's not right. But there's no point in meekly saying it's not right. But the question then stands, how do you fix that? And he and I had a good debate about it. I think the answer is really obvious. You just shut down the cabal and bring in referees from outside the jurisdiction. Because then...
You sound like who, Dallas, there in the Turkey FA?
Because they'll never vote for it. You're absolutely right, Desi. They will never take that change. So we can't affect that change. Therefore, catch-22 and you're caught by it. And
the question as well is right. Since the one time Rodgers did lose his rag, understandably so, was at Tynecastle. Where we won at Tynecastle, we go top of the league. And we've discussed this, Desi and I discussed this in the last podcast. But the two major decisions in that game totally changed the game. The red card was another red card for Yang, and the penalty they got before half time. So Rodgers came out and questioned VAR, and VAR was beaten. And then obviously he was called in front of the Beaks, Hamnets, all hidden private, and we were kicking him out going, why in this day and age, the professional sport, are we not allowed to see the output, the minutes from that meeting? What the case was, what Rodgers was challenged with, what Celtic's lawyer said, what the agreement was at the end. It was all done behind closed doors. But the other upshot of that was I think either just before that or just after that, Crawford Allen, who's the head of referees.
Yep.
Right. So he's announced that he'll not be here next season. So putting two and two together, I think something's definitely happened there based upon events at Tynecastle. But to turn his head again a wee bit, he's now going, I don't give a fuck. I'm giving them who they don't want the next few games. They're getting beaten at Ibrox. They're getting beaten at fucking Dundee. They're getting Andrew Dallas and fucking VAR. They're getting David Room, Rangers man again, another official. They're getting who I give them, like it a fucking lump. But I'm getting all guns blazing here.
Yep, and one goat less will be sacrificed at the fucking lodge. This is it. This is his part and gift to us. Fuck you, in your box. And it took us 30 or 40 years to get that fucking mentality moved out of our way over here. And it is something that's endemic in Scotland. And it's not just Scottish football. It exists, and I know Bill McGillivray, goes on about it, maybe just sometimes a little bit too much, but it is fucking fact. And I think the institutions that are Scottish football, they're the poster boy for this sort of get you back.
There's some of it. Let's not go overboard, right? There's some of it. Desi and I, we've had careers here, right? And the sectors that we work in, no. And it's no, definitely not. But there is absolutely no disputing. There's some areas, in particular football, and in particular referees, because when we were younger, referees came from Aberdeen, came from Dundee. Now they all come from fucking Ayrshire. Or Lanarkshire. And it's like, the rest of Scotland is as if, what's happened here? Why is it just this wee group of areas who seem to have all the officials now? Why is all the power just being controlled by 2 or 3 referee associations within the country, and the rest of Scotland has been totally discarded?
Yeah. There's a brilliant thing, and I'll not deviate off the point too much, but just very briefly. Symbolism for the supremacists is kind of their last bastion. We have it over here with the Irish language, with Gaelic. And as recently as this week, had a fucking politician, say that I think, and I paraphrase, but the sound of the Irish language terrorised them. A means of communication terrorizes you. It's symbolism.
But Monty, Desi and I have had that here as well, because we've always heard the sound of a drunk Glaswegian terrorises people as well. So we're familiar. We're familiar with that.
We've had this, from those fucking east of Scotland fucking posh type. But I think ultimately we just have to be. It's not just slightly better than the opposition. Unfortunately, in the big game, we have to be better. VAR has proven to be a fucking another weapon that they've asked the guys to go against us. And I'm delighted that Rodgers came out recently, and he's you talked about Hector. You wanted him coming back out full bullshit bingo and getting back into the zone. And it does feel like he's if it's a siege mentality.
He was asked about the Dundee pitch. So we're talking about Dundee again. So one of the people went, yeah. So you've obviously, Brendan, you've obviously seen a lot about Dundee's pitching in recent weeks, right? He goes, and any concerns going into the game on Sunday? Obviously, there's a little bit stand in the pitch, and he paused. He's obviously thought about this question, right? Or there's one or two that the ones in the media who are Celtic friendly, right? And he's and he's went, actually, he goes, I watched a little bit of Rangers game at Dundee, and if anything, I thought the pitch needed water. Oh!
Fucking glorious. I seen that and I would laugh.
I like when they say it's always the pitch is always in a good place, and I thought, where else would it be? Kind of like, right. So I just like to say to everyone listening, you've been listening to Monty and Hector, the two guys who before we started recording tonight told me, let's keep this succinct, let's keep it down to an hour, let's keep on topic, let's not just waffle on. So that's why I dislike you.
He's a bloody second bottle of fucking red wine.
I'm not interrupted at this point. Right, so getting back to the game, Dundee again, chances are they'll come into attack. That young boy what's the young boy in midfield did a cracking game against Rangers?
By the way, he's about 20. He's about 20.
Well, he's young compared to me.
I know, but he looks 19. He was very good, wasn't he?
Aye.
Is it McCarron or something like that? Or I heard Rod Stewart.
No, but anyway, Rod Stewart really likes him. But are they going to come out and attack? So Hector, my question to you is, what's your team then? What do you think defence-wise? People have been questioning, is it time to bring Miovski in, so to speak? Is it time to make a change in defence, or does thing with Hector, does Brendan just go with probably the team that started at Hampden there?
I would keep consistent, and I think it has been fairly consistent. Carter has been back overall, been the change, but I think him and Scales have been the preferred partnership. Keep it, just keep my opinion. Just keep it for now. Midfield, I would pretty much look to start.
Does Cal Max start?
100%. I would look to start. It's another 8 days off come Sunday since last weekend. Absolutely, he'll be good to go. And Rodgers mentions that again in the conference. The only one I would change starting would be Yang from last weekend. I wouldn't be starting Yang. So probably Palmer has to start. The other option's Forrest starting, but it's better bringing Forrest on the last half hour. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I would rather have Forrest on the last half hour, where one, he can get you a goal, but two, if you're keeping the lead, he can keep the ball better. Whereas I think Yang and others and Palmer are liable to lose possession easier. So that would be my thing. 10 picks itself, 10 the team. Yang wouldn't start, probably Palmer to start with. But the good news is Maeda is probably back soon, Desi.
Yeah, we'll come on to him in a second, because I've got a Twitter limerick running that I think hopefully people will enjoy. Monty, just your thoughts on the Dundee game. How do you see it panning out? Do you think it's going to be... We'll beat them, I think, 3-0 and 7-1. But again, it's been kind of tight. I think the 3-0 victories, it was still tight at half-time. Are you confident? Do you see... Is it one of those ones, just get in, get the victory and get out the door, don't care about how lovely the football is at this point in the season?
I think it'll follow the same pattern as the 3-0 game, Desi. I think it'll be tight. They might even sneak one to get ahead. But, excuse me, I think where we are mentally, where we are, having been there, done that, and the players know, especially the senior players in the squad who've crossed this line before. I think you will come good, certainly second half. I would love us to be in a position where we come out of the gates really guns blazing and have it, take a decent lead in the first sort of 40 minutes or so, and you can then control things. But I think Dundee will come at us. Dundee are only 3 points off a European place, I think I read during it.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually genuinely, they have all the player for it. But I do think it'll follow the same pattern. It'll be tight. We get the second half maybe with a few tweaks. But right now, Desi, I'll take a 1-0. I'll take a 2-0. Just 3 points, come home, job done.
Do we envisage, Hector, typical of Tony Docherty to lie down to Celtic headlines come Monday? Touchwood.
It's interesting what the points both you guys just raised there. I think the league games, even the one at Celtic Park, the first one this season, was fairly tight first half as well, wasn't it? And we kind of run away with the second half. Same at Dens. Then obviously they
got the Mikey Johnson one.
That was it. And then the Celtic up at Dens, that's right. I think you get two. Then the 7-1 game we started off great, and we just was it 6-0 at half time or something ridiculous.
Just on fire.
Sometimes you get a team whose style just suits you. Others, as we mentioned, Kilmarnock, this season's been a toughie for us.
Yeah.
Dundee just seems to just how we play just seems to suit us. Don't know what it is. Maybe get a wee bit more space against them. Maybe how they play, whatever it is. You've got to fancy us to win there. I think they like to keep the ball. They'll obviously sit deep, but when they go forward, I think they go forward in numbers, and they like to pass the ball about. A big miss for them is their captain get injured against the Rangers the other week. Is it Irish guy O'Shaughnessy, a big centre half?
Mm-hmm.
He's out for the rest of the season, unfortunately for them. And the left back who had loan for Liverpool, the boy we were linked with, Beck, he's also out injured as well. So we mentioned missing our defenders this season. They're missing, their squad. A left back in loan for Liverpool really good, and their captain centre half. So we should be looking to exploit that and ideally get a victory with a couple of goals. Just before that, though, it's interesting. They're playing St Mirren on the Sunday, aren't they? Just before our game, is that right?
Yeah, I'm just looking. 12:30. St Mirren Rangers, Sky Sports, Dundee, Celtic, 1500. So yeah, it's the two games, one after the other. On Sunday.
Interesting, because St Mirren, as you touched upon, Monty, I think, them and Dundee are both going for fifth, and fifth will guarantee you that final European position. So they've both got a lot to play for. St Mirren, on their day, can be really, really tough to beat.
Yeah, but you have now the 400 managers versus one factor. Robinson will be angling to take something off us in the last game.
But players don't think. The
last game shouldn't make any difference.
But no, for Robinson will be planning to be in with a shot of a European place come the last game of the season against Celtic. And if that's the case, and if we need it, Robinson will park 11 people. And he's done it before. And you remember, he's actually
that's how he plays it. That's how he plays it. Anyway.
He's quite a talented manager.
It's no different.
But at Ibrox, he'd be like a fucking Jimmy Calderwood at Ibrox.
I turn that. I hear fans saying that. A professional player. What are these guys that play for St Mirren's, Dundee's now? They're from down south for Europe. They're from different continents. They've no affiliation with Celtic or Rangers. No, but all I'm saying is, as a professional player, you're playing for fifth place and to get European football, right? You're also playing for the, comparative terms.
Yeah.
Football-wise, they don't get a massive wage, the guys. But what they do is the team get a good bonus for getting a draw or a win.
Yeah.
These guys aren't lying down to end.
I'm not suggesting they're laying down in the way that Calderwood's done Firmland lay down away back all those years ago when Sutton called them out. I'm not suggesting they'll lie down, but they will go to Ibrox with a different game plan.
Is it not St Mirren?
Yeah, that's St Mirren.
That's St Mirren. They will play with a different game plan than they've played all season. I fucking promise you. I promise you.
Well, probably it's not a bad thing because if they attack their defence, there's every chance they could beat them.
Maybe.
I think teams gave them too much respect. Teams, and was it Ross County of all teams who gave them no respect?
I said just turn them. I've said before, turn them and they'll shit themselves. Right, so what's the predictions then for Sunday, Hector?
3-1 Celtic.
Monty?
I would think 2-0, Desi. I think 2-0.
Okay, well, we'll get a difference. I'm going for 2-1. I'm going for my wife's favourite score. I'm going for 2-1. So we'll see where that pans out.
2-1 to Dundee or Celtic, does it? Just
2-1 to thanks. Well, obviously it's Dundee, clearly. And St Mirren. Yeah, but that would be nice. It would be nice if St Mirren could give us a wee surprise. Touchwood. We'll wait and see. I just remembered, I knew I had something else to add to the agenda. This is a highlight. After hearing you guys talk about the whole SFA, referee, conspiracy, etc., if anybody wants to know about the latest SFA hoops conspiracy, go away and look up the Bucky Thistle story. It's one of the strangest stories I've saw in Scottish football for so long. I'm just looking at the latest headlines. Basically, but if you're not aware, Bucky Thistle are meant to be in the playoffs. They get the announcement came out from the SFA saying, sorry, you never met our regulations, so we've cancelled it. You've been totally kicked out, and Bucky Thistle went, but we were at the SFA yesterday, and we've signed all these papers, everything's been agreed, everything's fine. And it's a total disaster. The SFA looking like the total amateurs there. And then I'm just reading here, I think it's Barry Anderson's just put up, Hector, I know you were interested, Tony. This isn't right. Bucky Thistle can't play in the SPFL Pyramid Playoff as they only have an entry-level club licence and don't comply with SPFL membership criteria. Yet at the moment, 5 current SPFL clubs, including Airdrie, only have entry-level licences. So if you want entertainment, folks, go and look at that. Right? I'm not saying we're not entertaining, touchwood we are, but it's some story. It's embarrassing for the SFA.
Ridiculous,
and that's a team of playing. That's a team of playing the hoops. You know what I mean? So that's what happens.
Desi, just on that, you mentioned the word that was in my head earlier when we were kind of winding you up about being so angry in the South Stand. And as I get that little bit sort of older, I'm on the 5th floor now, as they would say, I kind of view watching Celtic more with an entertainment lens. And I don't know whether that's normal or whether I just need to go to the South Stand and get angry. But I think, and I look at this now kind of objectively, I try to with Sky and what Sky want. Sky want entertainment. Sky want a title race. Sky want games like the 3-3, the cup final or the cup semi-final. But I think the more, and maybe it's a States of Life thing, I'm pretty certain, but I'm curious to you two, because you're a wee bit older than me.
Beg your pardon?
I think you two are just a little bit past. I'm curious though. I genuinely.
Which fucking why is he drunk then?
No, I'm being serious. It's a fucking.
I've still got half an agenda here, honestly.
Fucking hell.
I've been ruminating on this for a while because.
Ruminating?
But with that bottle of wine around your fucking lips, I hope it's a bottle of wine around your lips for a while, right?
Ruminating?
For the first time, I think, in my adult life, I didn't get remotely annoyed or tense during the Huns game. I actually didn't. The semi-final, I actually laughed when Aberdeen scored their equalisers. And holy fuck, there you go. And when it went to penalties, as much as I don't like watching penalties, I went, oh, sure, that's grand too. And I don't know, maybe I'm just softening in my old age, but I'm curious.
You know what that
if it's entertainment, what is it, Desi? Tell me.
It's alcoholism. Hector and I can confirm that's alcoholism, because Ralph also suffers from that. That's the way Ralph talks. You're getting into Ralph Mouth Road.
Getting old before my time, because he's about fucking 93. So
he's the youngest out his own. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, obviously a tough paper round.
Right. Let's get back on track, because I've still got 2 post-it pads to get through here. Right. So first of all, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone for listening and for leaving comments. They're very much appreciated. For subscribing and liking. A special dedication to Kiwi Mick somewhere down in New Zealand. He's allegedly fishing, so that's why he can't make today's podcast. But we thought that was just a euphemism, to be brutally honest.
He's away fishing, Desi, just so you know, if you caught his most recent message. He's away fishing at a rather large fish off the shores of New Zealand. It's called a Clement. It's a big thing that came from Belgium.
Trying to catch
fish. Yes.
Trying to catch a cracker like great. I think Brendan fishes for those quite often.
He's certainly been casting his net recently.
And then recent developments Celtic-wise. Good luck to the girls in their semi-final versus the Huns at Hampden. So best of luck there. And again, I'll come to Monty if he can give us a quick reply to this. But Darren O'Day is getting moved into the player elevation programme, kind of bringing players for the actual youth into the first team, as if there's been a bridge that's been missing there. And there's talking maybe Charlie Mulgrew getting his role, Monty.
Also seen something about Johnny Hayes coming back as well.
That's right, in talks maybe.
It's quite clear that we're not bringing through the level of talent that should be. When you look at Carmo Dembele and what he's now doing in the Championship or League One, he's ripping it up. Apparently, there's loads of clubs looking for him, Desi. I'd just love to see us give the likes of Bosun Law, another one who apparently is really sought after now, get him into the squad. But there hasn't really been 2 or 3, if you think about it. Vada hasn't really done it. There's a few that kind of came in and just didn't translate, Desi. So hopefully that fixes it.
Yeah, exactly. But that also touches on something Hector mentioned earlier regards Rodgers, and I watch your players every day in training, and it's what the love you give, the love you take is equivalent to the love you make kind of thing. Like Bata had missed, I think, a bus. It was late or something, and then he'd marked his own card, so that didn't get in too well. Yeah. So again, we'll wait and see what happens there. Right, so Hector, I'm going to give you a choice. Do you want to pick number 1 or number 2?
Number 1 for Celtic, Dave.
Right, number 1, right, so Monty, that means you've got number 2, right? So the number 1 and number 2, I've got here, I meant to bring up during the Aberdeen talk. Number 1, Miovski versus Ida, number 2. So Hector, give us 30 seconds on why we should pursue Miovski rather than Ida when it comes to summer.
I think he's a better player, Desi. Ida has done far better than I and probably most others thought at the time. Pretty much an unknown boy, no playing regular for Norwich. He's come in, and it could be argued that if we win the league at the end of the season, he's been a key factor in that with some big goals. I would just say Miovski for me looks a more complete striker. He's I don't want you guys said it earlier on. He has a bit of a Kyogo about him in terms of how he presses, and he's more a poacher. He's more that natural goal scorer's instinct. I think Ida's strength's more about running channels, hold up play. I think they're kind of different styles. I think Miovski's more a 9, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I would love Miovski. I think it'd be a smashing signing for us.
Okay, and the counter argument to that then, Monty, for you, why should we sign Ida instead of pursuing Miovski?
He's a completely different type of striker to what we have and we lean on in Kyogo. We don't ever really have an outball. We haven't had a proper outball / target man since, in real terms, Hartson and Sutton, arguably. I think Ida, Giacomakis, sorry, but again, fleeting, and he didn't really get the start, Hector, given that Kyogo was the starting position. I think Ida would be happier at Celtic to work his way in than signing Miovski for 5 or 6 million and expecting him to play. But I just think he'd also give us that outball in Europe that we really, really like. Because other than someone running themselves into the ground in hopeless causes, Ida gives us presence. And as Hector's pointed out, he's already come up with big game goals. Miovski, I love both. I'm greedy. But I think Ida just gives us something different.
So Desi, is that option 3 for you then? Sign both, because they're totally different players.
No, again, my first option is still sign Jack Kennedy, Jack McKenzie, for Aberdeen as well, new left back. That's still my priority. As in, I think that would be a good combo with your Greg Taylor. As in, I'm thinking longer term rather than a short 2 or 3 years. I know that's not how Celtic work, but I'd like to see us going for both.
Sorry, Desi, would you sign him before Owen Beck from Dundee / Liverpool?
Well, I've not really I know that boy gets really good write-ups, etc. But I've not really saw enough to say. But as I say, when I watched that young boy against Rangers, I thought he's got the attitude that we could really mould, and he's got the build, etc. But if we were going to Aberdeen for Miovski, I'd be on the moon if we went and get the 2 of them. But I was just going to say, what do we think's a realistic, not a Peter Lawwell figure? What do we think would be a realistic figure for us to maybe get Miovski?
5 million.
Do you think you can get him for 5?
I think because what he's done, to score the goals he's scored in 2 seasons with an Aberdeen team that's underachieved, but he's also performed in European football for them. He's caused us all sorts of problems as well. So I think he's got a lot more to come as well.
Has he scored against the Huns?
Oh, he ran riot against him. Remember, he ran right through the middle. But I'm actually thinking 5 million's quite cheap if we're going for 5 million.
Let's not go over all ground again, but our window we still think we can get guys for 2 million, and rather than selling for 10, we get 30 and still get guys for 2. No, guys that were 2.5 to 3, it's now 5. You know, he's young. What is he, 24?
Yeah.
He's got plenty of years left in the tank. I think it'd be a tremendous signing for us, and he's demonstrated he can do it here as well, right?
I'm sorry, Hector. What's the largest transfer fee between two SPFL clubs? Is it still us and Scott Brown?
No, is it no? Was it not the Huns and Duncan Ferguson?
Scott Brown beat that.
Scott Brown beat that.
Yeah.
4.5 million. Scott Brown, 4.5 million.
Aye.
It's
And that's not
see, you guys will look at Ida and Miovski's Wikipedia's like their careers. Miovski's played maybe 50 more games all in, but they're quite similar. They're like one 6'2" and 6'3", but no, like they're quite similar when you actually look. Quite interesting. So it'll be interesting to see if we pursue those guys or we go in a different tangent altogether, knowing. We'll put it this way: do we actually know who the Celtic talent scout stroke signing guru is these days? Now that Mark Orwell's exited the building, has that ever been clarified?
Brendan Rodgers, I believe, is his name.
Yeah, exactly. It could be. Right. So the final topic, the one that's made Hector smile as wide as a Clyde this week. Maeda, Mr. Made of Stone, Hector. How joyous were you? The news that Brendan might be at the mind games, but Brendan says, yeah, Maeda might even be back for next weekend, let alone the end of the season.
So I pinged it in our chat, the Celtic TV put it on YouTube. He's asked about Maeda. Is it true? He was asked, is it true that Dyson's back training? And he said, well, basically, when he did the conference 2 weeks ago and he got the first scans, he goes, he didn't think he'd be back this season. He said, but since then, he's had a couple of more scans, and it turns out it's not as bad as they first feared. And he's now started training, and he's saying he won't. This is him today. He won't make the game this weekend, but there's every chance he'll be involved next weekend, right? And somebody had a follow-up question, and he said, he was talking about his recovery, and he goes, I've never seen anything like it. He goes, I was talking to the Celtic guy, Dr. Tim, is it Tim Williamson or something like that? He's a Celtic club doctor. And he said, and Tim said, all his time at Celtic, he's never known a player like Maeda with that power recovery or that core fitness. That he just has something that, even in football terms, is quite unique. And we can see it on the field with that ability to press 3 players fucking non-stop for almost 90 minutes. So I think for us, as usual, he's just back, get him on the bench, hopefully next week. But it's Tavernier, Desi. We're going to come at the very end. I know you are. We'll save that, but we've got to mention it. He's Tavernier's worst fucking nightmare. Dyson Maeda. Worst nightmare. And we keep saying this to people, and I know he's got his critics, Dyson, and I get it. Some of his crossings are abysmal, but I counter that and say, any guy that runs at the pace he does for 90 minutes, if he could cross the ball, he'd be in fucking Serie A or the Premier League, right? That's the reason with us. But I would just say that, with Tavernier. Tavernier's clearly, I know the penalties, blah, 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 but Tavernier's strength is getting forward and crossing the ball. He's a very good deliverer of the ball. Dyson up against him doesn't give him a minute's fucking peace. So he's always got looking over his shoulder, going back the way. So for me, getting him fit or getting him starting against Dane, it's massive. It's massive for how we play. So that was wonderful, wonderful news, Desi. I'm over the moon. I think he's wonderful. Love Maeda to bits.
Yeah, but that was I was going to come to Monty about that, because that's the whole point. But the whole loving, and it's brilliant to see, because he's Maeda's starting to get recognised as one of those MVPs. People are starting to realise the actual role he does is rather unique. I mean, it's not as if bring one winger in, take a winger off. It's that pressing game, and as we all know, like, football's all about confidence. I mean, like, you can avoid a skill, but you'll not get any confidence. So the thing about Tavernier is, you're saying, as soon as he feels the breath of Maeda within 10 yards, Tavernier's fucking starting to hesitate and shitting himself. But so Monty, I'll come to you for your thoughts, but just to highlight, the tweet of the week, everybody basically recognised on Twitter for this, was at TF67, who wrote, when Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone in 1885, he had already missed 2 calls from Dyson Maeda. So, I mean,
I think as Hector pointed out, Tavernier's a decent fullback in terms of going forward. The amount of joy that we've had down that right-hand side, though, is probably the reason why Goldson ended up getting dropped last week. I have no doubt that Clement is thinking about, these big games coming up. But Maeda is fucking. There's nothing else. I can't remember another Celtic player that had that level of fitness. Collins had that level of fitness, but never had that level of application. So I think if we can get him back for that game alone, it would be worth it getting him back and fit. But Ange talked about it too, Desi. Ange talked about his recovery was elite level. That was the exact phrase about him, that the guy had elite level recovery. And it's good that, it's obviously seen if the doctor's talking about it. And if that could be a reference point for some of the younger players as to how they would look after themselves fitness-wise. But it is one of those probably fucking genetic things, You're as fit as you want, but maybe you just don't have the ability to recover.
And that whole durability. I know he's injured, but the fact that he's going at 100 mile an hour every game for the whole game, but he finishes some amount of games. It's not as if he does a Roderick and fades out after 70 minutes. It's like constant on the go all the time. Yeah. Right, so just to wrap up, I put out a tweet to say we're doing a pod tonight. Can anyone complete this limerick? So I've sent it on our WhatsApp, so if you can read it and pick one, fine. If you can't, I'll just go through them, so bear with me, folks. And the limerick goes, there once was a forward named Dyson, whose injury loomed on the horizon, but Maeda said no, just give me the ball, right? So then I go to the Twitter replies, Humo62, and he stuck it in the net with his size 10, right? And you'll have to bear with me trying to pronounce it, right? And hold on, Hector, what was your reply again to? But Maeda said no, just give me the ball.
And Tavernier's gone into hiding.
Tavernier's gone into hiding. I think there was a shiting reference and all we had earlier on. Big Stevie boy and another block clearance flies in. And too creative. But Maeda said no, just give me the ball. Did you, Ison?
Like when a guy called Alan Mill, he's went and he sent Tavernier to go and get the pies in.
Very good. Johnny X Scotland was champion, what we were kind of saying earlier. He just wrote, fuck the king and the Huns.
That was my favourite. I was going to say, I'm a big fan of simplicity in these things. Johnny Scotland nailed it.
Cut to the point. Unlike you, cut to the point. Adamski, because the doctor just gave me a Kaizen. That's one for the IT folk there. A wee bit of there for you.
And John Livingston, and the hopes of a double are rising.
Stephen McGrory's similar. I like Martin Indoors, that terminal boy. I'm up again. So, but Maeda said no, just give me the ball. I'm up against Tav, who's pure shizing.
Multicultural, multilingual, that one's got to be up there.
Exactly. That's covering all bases. Hold on, we'll get shouts saying J11 CSC. Just wait till the Huns will put 5 in. Hold on. John Lennon, Tavernier went into hiding. I like Paul McNally 4, and Tav was left very disappointed. That's what it's saying. They don't all need to rhyme. I mean, they don't.
I don't know. In the spirit of being a critical bastard from the South Stand, did you catch Robert McVeigh? And he'll cross the ball over the horizon.
Jerry Q photos is that Jerry Q 65 is a man after my own heart. He's finished it with Maeda said no, just give me the ball. What's the difference between a buffalo and bison? I'm over tangents. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Robert McCune, and he shot it high, wide, and handsome. Nice. Very good. I'm even ready for Tyson, happy hoopy boy. Let's see it. Oh, nice. The third frame. And I'll hoover up trophies like Dyson. So very nice wee touch there.
Very good. Nice.
People have done well there. Well done. So that was good. So very good. So thanks very much. So again, we'll wrap up there. Fingers crossed we can do the job on Sunday. You never know. St Mirren might do us a favour. Who knows? I think they've beat them recently, not too long ago. So we might get lucky. But as long as we do our job, that's all that matters. And good luck to the girls again at Hampden against Rangers in the semi-final. All right, folks. Again, thank you for listening. I'll just say thank you to Hector Bandido. Thanks, Hector.
Cheers, guys.
And thank you to Monty C for claret, 2 bottles. Thank you, Monty.
Thanks, Desi.
Right.
Thanks, lad.
All right, folks. Thanks very much. My name's Desmond. Good night.
Brendan, how's the squad looking heading into this game?
Yes, looking good. Obviously, on the back of getting to the final. So we've had good recovery, good preparation, and now nearly all set for the weekend.
How's Dyson Maeda? Is his recovery looking a quicker timeline than you'd expected?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it here before a few weeks back. The information that we were given was that he was probably going to be out for probably the remainder of the season. We felt that, but he's responded so well. He's obviously gone away and had further scans and ultrasound, and he's out on the pitch, and you would think he was never been away. So I just don't think he'll be for this weekend, but he'll finish off his rehab beginning next week, and fingers crossed then he'll play some part then between now and the end of the season, which is fantastic news for us, because he's been consistently really, really good for us this season, and to have him back and his intensity would be a fantastic boost for us.
Is that quite remarkable, just at the speed that he seems to have recovered at?
Yeah, I was speaking to Tim, our head of our medical team, this morning, and he said he's, in his time here, it never fails to amaze him in terms of his recovery and just his overall physicality. So he's getting nothing from the tendon issue that he felt after the game. So which is great news, but there's still a few more steps to go through, and but that would be great news for us.
I suppose at this time of the season as well, you can never have too many options.
Yeah, no, you want to have as many as you possibly can. So having him back would that would really create a really strong squad for us.
I'm sure there'll have been a good feeling after the result last weekend. Is it about just carrying that onto this weekend, or is it just a refocus back into league action?
Yeah, I think it was a really good feeling to get through. The standard of our performance wasn't what I would have liked, but there's some times in life it's really important to overcome situations, and obviously we achieved the goal, which was to get to the final, but we also had to overcome lots within the game. So the players done absolutely brilliant to get through that and show that nerve and mindset right at the very end. And now we see ourselves in the final, which is great. But now we've got to shift the mindset now onto the league, and that's where our concentration is.
The big moments of the season, the mentality of the players will really come into that, and I'm guessing you saw a lot of that at the weekend. That'll be promising for the weeks ahead. Yeah,
I think this is the period where you got to get your trophy head on, and you get your focus on what it takes to become a champion. And the players here are well versed in that. They understand the mindset, they understand the psychological traits that's needed at this stage. Physically, you've done a lot of your work. Yeah, you might have one or two players that may be looking to get back in or up to speed, but in the main, it's all psychological now, and this is the part of the season where this team have been very, very good, and this club have been exceptional. So, but you have to do it, and that's that'll be our focus each game at a time now, starting at Dundee.
Does the Dens Park pitch come into your thoughts when you're preparing for this game? Obviously, it's been dry, but there were areas of, without a lot of grass, a bit of sand in there as well. Does that have to come into your focus when you're?
Not really, no. I watched some of the Rangers game. I actually thought that needed a bit of water on there, to be fair, but it doesn't. I have to say, in all the time over 2 spells, I've been to Dundee. The pitch has always been in a really, really good place. I did go up there earlier in the season to see Kamaker's testimonial game. I think it was around about September time, and I was a little bit slippy at that point, and that was in September. So, or it was certainly early on in the season. But no, I don't have any worries about it. The weather's been good, and I'm sure it needs a little bit of water. They can stick that on there.
You talk about, Brendan, it's the time of the season to get the trophy head on. Probably nobody would embody that more than James Forrest at this club. How important is his influence at this time of the season, especially?
Very, very important. I think that he's a certified winner. He knows what it takes, and having someone of him and his ability and just stature around the team is very important at this stage. So I think you've seen it in a number of the cameos he's produced recently. He didn't get so much game time in parts of this season that maybe he felt he maybe deserved. We were giving other players a chance that were brought in, but the longer it goes on, you see really his qualities and what he brings to the team. And I think that his mindset, as well as what he brings to the pitch and that calmness, as well as the quality, that'll be really important for us.
Yeah, there's been times, you've seen it at loads of clubs in the past, where a senior experienced player, they maybe don't get the game time that they want. They fall out of things, they maybe start losing interest. But I guess nothing, that could be the polar opposite of what's happened to him.
Yeah, remarkable professional. From the first time I met him here, back in 2016. I know there's some noises around him, maybe moving or going, but I never felt that at all. And his professionalism, his focus, is absolutely phenomenal. How he looks after his body, how he prepares himself, it's never wavered. And like I say, there's probably times this season where he's maybe felt that he should have played more, maybe I should have maybe played him more, I don't know. But what I know is that I was never ever going to rule him out, because I know what he gave me in my first time here, and then the spells this time when he's played, he's been absolutely brilliant. So he'll be an instrumental figure for us, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch, over these closing weeks.
Does his kind of understated nature, James, almost like not go against him, but do you think it'll only be in the future when people will look back and realise just how, some of the comments you just said, the sort of certified winner type of thing?
Yeah, I think so. And normally, as you normally are judged once you move on. You're sometimes judged harshly when you're still in post, but I think if you look at the longevity of his career, to have played here through the many players that's been here. You think of the wingers that have come into this club over the years that he's been here. For him still to have been the stalwart and a really important player, and even now at this stage in the latter part of his career still to be that influence. I think people were surprised when I mentioned about him being the best winger here a number of weeks back, but I think you see now what I was meaning is that how he looks after the ball, how he takes care of the ball, his game understanding, how he protects it. He's one of the best wingers I've ever worked with at receiving the ball so close to the line under pressure, because he very rarely loses it. He can create goals, he can score goals. I think that now the challenge for any player as they grow older is the intensity of which the modern game is played, and especially in a team and in a where intensity is the demand, and that's how this team works and how my teams have always worked. So, but that doesn't take away the contribution that he can have, whether that's to start a game or come into a game. And I see it every day in training. He's an absolutely brilliant player, has been over many years for the club, and someone who I know will really be important for us to the end of the season now.
Another huge player in Callum McGregor. How's he getting on at the moment? Do you think he's shaping up to be able to play a full 90 minutes?
Yeah, well, he's certainly getting there. I think that, again, the plan with Callum wasn't to chuck him in. We know how important he is, but you have to also look after him as well, and manage his minutes, and that's what we've been looking at doing, from introducing him 20 odd minutes and a bit longer, and then 60 minutes at Hampden. So he's looking like he's getting up to speed. He was out for a long time, virtually before the Rangers game, where he just come in and only had a couple of days training. So he done so well to even make that game, to now just build him back up, and I see him every day in training, and he's looking much sharper, much brighter, and so his fitness is coming along really well.
What are you expecting from Dundee? Do you think they'll play with a bit more freedom given their good result against Rangers last week?
Listen, I think they've had good results right the way through the season. I think Tony's done a brilliant job, him and his staff. There'll be stronger squads, I'm sure, in the league that will feel that they could have made the top six. But I think the likes of Tony, what he's done, what the likes of Stephen Robinson has done at St Mirren, Derek Kilmarnock, they've really shown their coaching and managerial qualities. And in particular, Tony coming through in his first season in the Premiership as a manager, the job he's done is absolutely brilliant. So I expect them to play how they've played all season, which is with a collective spirit, work very, very hard for each other, and give any team a problem. We've played really well against Dundee this season, but it's no guarantee of anything. It only guarantees that we have to be focused, and if we have that focus and mentality and show the ambition in the game from the first whistle, then it gives us an opportunity to get the 3 points.
Brendan, you mentioned psychology earlier on in the importance of it at this time of year, and it's something you've obviously been focused on through your career as a manager. At this point in time, do you do extra work on that side of the game, where you brought in external help like sports psychologists and that kind of stuff? Are you doing that just now, or is it always in the background? Or
yeah, no, it's always in the background. It's more just sometimes it's the body language that you're portraying and the words that you're using with players. I just think at this period of time, it's very, very important, that aspect. The psychology of football is always there, but in particular this stage of the season, it's just making sure the players are calm but prepared, and they have clarity around their job. So no, nobody external or anything like that. Just a calmness around the environment.
Just in a similar vein then, Brendan, you've got a situation at hand in there on Saturday, 120 minutes of football, real pressure going into the penalty kicks. What's the message to the players in the short moments before the penalties, and more generally with the pressure of the running you now face? Don't
let your kit man near them. Stevie got a wee bit of a blast from me, didn't he? Bless him. He's a good guy, Stevie, right? He's Celtic daft, he's Celtic mad. But you got to know your place. So, but no, I think that you've, like at that moment, you obviously the work was prepared in terms of who was going to be taking the penalties. So we virtually knew as soon as the whistle went, the players that were on the pitch, then what the order would be. And like I say, everything else that had gone on before, because we'd had to come from behind, and then we've had disappointments of being in front and conceding equalisers. So that could really, affect your mentality. But that's gone. That's, don't worry about that. Now we've got to focus in on the opportunity to get to the final, which has been clear, and stay committed to what your plan was over the previous couple of days, and commit to that penalty. And the players did that brilliant. The level of penalties, I know we've missed something this year, but actually the quality of those penalties was very, very good.
Still on the psychology point, I know you've praised James Forrest there, but for the younger players to see, I know that really big on vying for competition for places at Celtic, a hugely talented squad. For the younger players or the guys who have been here maybe a little less time, to see someone like James come in with limited minutes under his belt this season and see the level of performance that he's pushing for, psychologically that must be great for the younger players or the players who haven't been here for as long.
Yeah, I think it also lets them see that there'll always be an opportunity with me here, and that I look closely at training, I observe training. I take it very seriously. I'm not the type of coach where you can just turn up every day and do what you want, but you'll still play on a Saturday because you're a good player. It's what you're doing on the training field, and for young players, he's an absolute fantastic role model, James. Like I said, the younger guys will see how he prepares, how humble he is, how he looks after his body, and that's why he's had the career that he's had, and why it allows him at this stage of the season to, like I say, to come alive. This is what the top players will do. So yeah, he's absolutely brilliant for us, has been over many years, and I'm just so happy that he's at this stage of the season he's still looking very strong.
Against those lack of minutes that James has had, his decision making when manipulating the space seems to be, unparalleled at Celtic. He seems to always know when to come in to let the overlap in the fullback, to come inside an inside channel to create chances, as we saw on Saturday. Given that match fitness, for obvious reasons, isn't right up there this season, how do you feel about that particular part of his game where it just seems second nature to him, and he's so consistent with those decisions that he makes moment to moment?
Yeah, it's something that I've always been impressed with. Like when I came here the first time, and when I left and went to the Premier League, I had no qualms about saying to people he's arguably the best player that I've worked with receiving the ball on the touchline. How he takes the ball, his body shape, how he feints when he receives it, whether that's on the right side or the left side. And that's something that our younger wingers can learn from, because you need players of that quality that allows you to keep the ball in those areas of the pitch. Like if you look at some of the goals we gave away last week was from creative players giving the ball away, and giving over possession. When you have the talented players, they have a love of the ball, they keep the ball, and that allows your team to move up the pitch, and none more so than your defenders, because they get relief. Your attacking players, the more they can penetrate, the more they can look after the ball, it allows them to get up the field. So from a tactical perspective, from an individual perspective in him, he's I always say to the young players, if you watch how he looks after the ball, how he takes the ball, his decision making, as you say, when to be in, we play with wingers outside, but when you're right footed playing on the left, at times you want to come in to create the space, and he does all of that absolutely magnificently well. And as I said, I'm lucky I get the chance to see it every day.